Good afternoon everyone, thanks for coming down. I'm Josh from Marques Flooring and this is the first edition of our third Thursday training. This is something we're going to be doing every month, and to make it nice and easy, it's called Third Thursday Training, so you know it's always every third Thursday of every month at 3:30. To kick it off, we got the guys here from Cutek and we're going to be going through decking and how to restore decking, as well as then how to coat it and a couple other little technical things at the same time. So I'll hand it over to Greg and he's going to go through a number of different demonstrations and we'll kick things off.
Thank you, Josh. Okay, so the first thing that we usually get asked is what sort of preparation do we need to do to timber before we coat it? Well, there's a number of things and we have a number of products that are suitable for all those applications. So below me here we've got two prime examples of the timber that you would usually come across. Brand new fresh timber out of the yard, laid, ready to coat. Then we have timber that has been, as you can see, fairly poorly looked after. There's two examples of this. The example in the front, the first three boards, are timber that has never been looked after. So that would be a hardwood that has just been put down and literally not looked after for its life, which would be around about, I think this one is something like 10 years. The board, three boards towards me, are actually a hardwood that has been previously coated in Cutek, but that coating has then been left to silver off, and Cutek will naturally silver off with age while the oil still stays within the timber, protecting the board. And you can actually see there's a fair difference between the two types of timbers there and the age and what the actual weathering has done to them. What we'll do is we'll actually use one of our prep products to bring this timber back to an original state, or as best we can, before we apply a coat of Cutek oil on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply Cutek Pro Clean to that, and this is like a timber rejuvenator. This will actually get rid of the greying off the timber, brighten the timber, get rid of any mold spores, any iron staining or anything else that may be on that timber. So we're going to give that a go in a minute. Meanwhile, if we look at the timber that's just been bought and laid, it all looks pretty good. Looks like you could coat that straight away. But the issue with doing that is that also could have some sort of contaminant on it, and a lot of that will probably be something like mill glaze. And if you haven't heard of mill glaze, it's the process of machining the timber causes friction and heat, and that actually brings a lot of those extractives, which will just gloss over the top of the timber, pretty much cause a barrier that most products won't stick to, or they'll have an issue with that sort of thing. So what we've done is we've got three boards that have been pro cleaned, and then the three boards that have just been laid without any preparation to that, and we'll see the difference in those shortly. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to apply Pro Clean to these boards, and the first thing you have to do is thoroughly wet the board. So we'll go ahead and thoroughly wet the board, then we're going to pour Pro Clean into our bucket. We're going to use a soft broom as an applicator, and we're just going to broom it evenly and neatly straight across the boards, and then we're going to leave that for a period of time. Now you can leave Pro Clean on your substrate for anything up to 24 hours. So unlike other products, it doesn't have to be rehydrated. So this product, once it goes on wet, will keep being active and doing its job for up to 24 hours. So we'll go ahead and wet the board, apply the Pro Clean, we'll leave it for a short period of time, and then we'll power wash that off.
And this doesn't get diluted, just goes straight on.
Put it on neat, because you've already wet the board, so it's partly diluted. An even application across the boards is the best thing. You don't have to scrub hard. The Pro Clean will do its job. There's no need for vigorous scrubbing like with any other products. So it can stay on the board. It looks like it's dry, but it's still working. So it's working underneath that. And that's unlike any other product that's on the market. Most of them have to be rehydrated, and you've probably got a maximum of 40 minutes to do that. So this stuff you can use in the middle of the day, and it'll continue to work overnight, come back the next morning, power wash it off. So what we've got in there is we've got a foamer that you'll see that when you're actually power washing it off, it will actually show a white foam. The idea is to get rid of all that white foam, then you know that the product is actually out of the board. So, which is a very good idea so that you know how much you've cleaned it. So the longer you leave it on, the better the job it's going to do. The longer you leave it on, the more washing it's going to take to get out. Okay, so we've power washed that off and we let that dry, and as you can see, the results are remarkable. As you can see, it's taken off all the greying out of the timber. It's brought the timber back to a fairly original colour. It's got rid of the mould off. It's cleaned all the dirt out, any iron stain that was appearing on there. Now, don't worry that the boards are actually looking a little bit dull. That timber is in really good shape now. Best it can be. Now, as you take notice of the first three boards, which were the aged timber that has never had a coat on it at all, its whole life. Whereas the first three boards closest to me have been previously treated with Cutek. It's just that the coating had been let go and it's just faded off. Because Cutek stays within the timber itself and acts as a wood stabiliser, the conditions of the boards are worlds apart. See the boards in the front, they're actually starting to surface check really, really badly. That's no good for the board. You'll get moisture in there. Moisture causes rot, and it needs 20% moisture to have rot start forming. See, the back boards are still in very good condition. So the boards themselves are nice and tight, the grain's nice and tight. It's been, I guess, protected internally by the Cutek formulation, and the weather hasn't got to that at all. It's just simply silvered off. Silvering is just oxidisation of the timber. The polymers on the top of the timber are degraded, but it's only very small. So it only goes in 0.2 of a millimetre or less, and that's going to do you no damage whatsoever. It's when you start getting all that heavy surface checking and cracking, because there's no protection for the timber, that's when you've got an issue. So along those lines as well, there's an old way of protecting timber before you coat, which is let hardwood age for 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes 3 months. Well, what that's going to do is that's actually going to allow the timber to start deteriorating by surface checking and cracking, allowing moisture to come in and out of the timber. There's even written words where it says, if it doesn't rain within that period, hose it every second day. Well, all you're doing is just starting that destruction of the timber. As we know, timber have natural resistance to termites and rot, so it's a durability that's within the timber. You've got different classes, I won't go into that now, but 1, 2, 3 and 4. A lot of the hardwoods are class 1 and 2, but they rely on those extractives that you're trying to water out of it or let that run out. Some of the extractives are tannins, and tannins are very vital to the durability and the resistance against termites, so you don't want to get rid of all those. Sure, it's okay to give it a surface prep before you coat, but you don't want to start destroying the timber. So with that in mind, certainly pro-cleaning new timber to clean it up, get rid of mill glaze, is a fantastic idea. So what we've done on these new boards is that we have pro-cleaned 3 of them, and we have just simply left 3 of them and given them a quick wash. So when we apply the oil to these, which we'll do in a moment, you should be able to see a very good difference. Getting rid of mill glaze is pretty much key to longevity of anybody's coating, regardless of whether it's Cutek or another coating, because you're actually giving a surface area that something can bind to. So you're getting rid of the mill glaze, which is almost like a glass film over it as such. You can't see that, but you can feel it, and that's going to give a resistance to bonding from anybody's product. So you power wash that with ProClean, and that will get rid of that, and that's going to give you something to bond to. So we'll go ahead and we'll give these boards a coat, and what we're going to do is we're going to coat them with a Cutek CD50 that has been pre-mixed with a colour tone tint. So all Cutek oils are clear. As they go on clear, they will allow the deck or the timber to naturally just silver off with exposure to sunlight. But you're still going to get all that timber stabilisation technology going through the timber, as Cutek is a penetrating oil and it migrates deeply into the timber. But without a colour tone, there's very little UV protection for the surface. So think of colour tones as sunblock. So if you put sunblock on your face, you're delaying the amount that you burn, and UV light is doing that to you. The same with timber. So we add a colour tone to a can of Cutek, and that's going to give you your UV resistance. That's going to keep your timber looking like freshly oiled timber for much longer. So in a 5 litre can, you can add one 180ml colour tone. You can add as much as 2 180ml colour tones per 5 litre can, so 4 to a 10. Now what that actually effectively does is it's like putting extra UV protection. So you're actually giving more time between the silvering, or you're delaying the silvering longer. And if it's key to your product, or not product, to your project, to have the timber colour last as long as possible, then the key to that would be to use Cutek Extreme Oil with a double colour tone in it. And that will give you the longest and best performance as far as colour goes. So remember, Cutek Extreme, double the colour tone, and that will give you the best results for colour retention. Right, we'll go ahead and apply a coat of Cutek to the timber, and we'll also do it on the weathered timber as well. Now what you'll see is that there's 2 ways of applying it. One, you can apply it with a lamb's wool applicator, which is probably the chosen method for bigger areas, or as you'll see later, you can apply that just simply with a brush as well. So light coats are much better than thick heavy coats. Because it is, as I said, a true penetrating migrating oil, there's no need to overload it. All that's doing is making the time frame between the penetration drag out. So thin coats in this instance are much better than heavy coats. So you can see that that oil now has brought the timber up beautifully, but the shine on it will go. So Cutek is a matte finish. It will look the same as a natural matte finished oil on the timber, but it's going to give you that protection against moisture, and it's also going to give you the protection against the UV when you're adding a colour tone. Different colour tones are available for different timbers. The key to this is choose a colour tone that is similar to the colour of the timber that you're applying it to, or darker. And the reason for this is that our colour tones contain transparent iron oxides. Transparent iron oxides are absolutely awesome at blocking and absorbing UV light, but as the word says, they are highly transparent. So you're actually going to see a lot of the timber through those pigments. So what happens is you choose a colour pigment or a colour tone that is too light for the timber, you won't notice it straight away. But what will happen is the timber, when it actually starts to lighten from the effects of UV light getting through, as it will, then you're going to get a reflected light that's going to shine those transparent iron oxide colours to you. So if you've got a lighter one, such as a yellow, on a darker substrate, you're going to get that lighter, patchier look. There's nothing wrong, you've just simply chosen the wrong colour tone. So it is key for longevity of colour to choose one that is similar to the colour of the timber or darker.
Thanks for joining us for our first edition of Third Thursday Training. As we said, this is going to evolve throughout the year, and we're going to be holding this every month on the third Thursday of each month. Next month, we're going to be having levelling, which is on the 21st of January. You'll see a whole lot of flyers, 21st of February, sorry. You'll see a whole lot of flyers and news go out soon, and this video and all the videos will be uploaded onto YouTube as the series goes on. Thank you.